Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time, and in this video I'll give you the latest status of what's going on with the Biden transition. I'll also cover some very interesting comments from Paul Ryan, who's the former House Speaker. Paul Ryan said that the questioning of the election results should stop, and he said something very interesting to Joe Biden, which is that it's probably better if the Republicans win both seats in Georgia, and I'll tell you why that is the case. I'll also cover some very interesting things that the Minnesota governor is actually thinking of doing because there's no aid from the federal government. So he wants to do something specifically for residents in Minnesota. Let's just jump into all of that. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I appreciate you watching. If you learned something new from this video, please consider clicking the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications and gently tap that like button. That would mean a lot to me. That would also help out the YouTube algorithm. Let's just jump right in. First, let's jump into what Joe Biden is doing. You'll see this article on your screen from Bloomberg that reads, Biden welcomes national security team, says, I quote, America is back. Now, keep in mind, Biden actually spent 45 minutes introducing members of his new national security team, and then he walked away without taking a single question. So I think this is going to be interesting. I think the way the press interacts with the next administration relative to this administration is going to be completely different. So that's what we can expect going forward. But what the Bloomberg article says is that the president-elect leans on former advisors and Obama veterans, and the foreign policy team will seek to renew relations with allies and with several overseas countries. There's going to be a difference in the approach of the Biden administration versus the Trump administration. According to Bloomberg, the appointees, all of the appointees for the national security infrastructure by Biden, will work with Biden on his goal of restoring U.S. relations with international organizations that President Trump had essentially spurned in his America First approach to foreign policy. Biden has promised to seek multilateral solutions, in other words, working with other countries to come up with solutions to problems like climate change, the COVID pandemic, and arms control. Here's a quote from Joe Biden. It's a team that reflects the fact that America is back. Ready to lead the world, not retreat from it. Ready to confront our adversaries, not reject our allies. And ready to stand up for our values. This is a quote from Joe Biden. And then he ended by saying, this team meets this moment. Now, the spokesperson for Joe Biden, Jen Psaki, said that Biden would name an economics team next week. Now, it has already been reported that former Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen is going to be his pick for Treasury Secretary. And I have covered in other videos why Janet Yellen is an excellent choice. She's a safe choice. She's 74 years old. She'll be the first female U.S. Treasury Secretary, and she's likely to get support from both sides of the aisle, and she is in favor of more stimulus. She's been the Federal Reserve Chairman from 2014 to 2018, so she understands how the system works, and she's likely to be an excellent choice for U.S. Treasury Secretary, and she's likely to get support from both Democrats as well as Republicans. Now, let's take a look at some interesting comments made by Paul Ryan, the former Speaker of the House, and he said, I'm going to quote him now, well, I think it's important to acknowledge that the GSA, the General Services Administration, ascertained the election, and that sounds kind of technical, but it's actually, frankly, pretty important because that allows the official transition to actually occur so that President-elect Biden and Joe Biden is the President-elect. So Paul Ryan emphasized that, so that Joe Biden, the president-elect, can actually plan his transition, get the security background checks for his people, get the process going where he can be ready to populate his cabinet and the lower positions in the administration. So that GSA attestation is actually pretty important, according to Paul Ryan. And I want our viewers and subscribers to pay attention to the next part because this is really important. Paul Ryan said, I think maybe even more important is that these legal challenges to the outcome and the attacks on our voting system really need to stop, in my opinion. The outcome will not be changed, and it will only serve to undermine our faith in our system of government, our faith in democracy. These again are words from Paul Ryan, former Speaker of the House. He's a Republican. I know firsthand, you mentioned Joe Biden and how I know him. I know firsthand what it's like to lose a national election, and it's a terrible feeling. It is not pleasant, and I know that there are a lot of people in this country who are really disappointed. He's talking specifically about President Trump and supporters of President Trump. He also said, but I think it's really important that we are clear about this, which is the mere fact that the president's lawyers throw these sorts of baseless conspiracy theories out at press conferences but offer no evidence of these in court tells you that there is not the kind of widespread voter fraud or systemic voter fraud that would be required to overcome the outcome of this election. So the election is over, the outcome is certain, and I really think the orderly transfer of power, and that is one of the most uniquely fundamental American components of our political system. And I think it's really important that we respect that. We respect the will of the people. And if we don't, we end up doing damage to our country, to our democratic institutions and norms, and to the cause of freedom. So frankly, I really think it's in the president's best interest to acknowledge these things and not just have the GSA technically facilitate the transfer of power, but to embrace the transfer of power, the system that we have. So Paul Ryan is basically saying that the president should publicly come out in favor of the transition and state that openly and leave no doubt about that for his supporters. That's what Paul Ryan is implying. That's my interpretation. He said, I think it's in his best interest and clearly in the American people's best interest to do that. And then Paul Ryan said something that was even more interesting. He talked about the control of the Senate. He said, and I'm quoting Paul Ryan here, I personally think it's in Joe Biden's best interest, he obviously would not want to hear this, for us to win, us meaning the Republicans, to win those Georgia Senate seats. Because then he really does have divided government and he really does have to work with both sides of the aisle, and you won't have the building pressure from the left to try and jam the other side. Very, very interesting comments from Paul Ryan. And then he continues to say, and so assuming, and you cannot assume these things, we keep the Georgia Senate seats and we have divided government. Joe Biden knows how to work in divided government. He's a good guy. He's a very nice person. He keeps his word. By the way, these are comments about Joe Biden coming from Paul Ryan, a Republican who was a former Speaker of the House. So Paul Ryan, former Speaker of the House, and Joe Biden. So, Joe Biden, president-elect. So, this is encouraging. He said he's a good guy. He's a very nice person. He keeps his word. Those of us who worked with Joe, we disagree with each other, and he's not a disagreeable human being. So he does know how to work in divided government. He does put deals together, and that will be much, much easier for him to operate like that and bring both sides together if we truly have divided government. If we don't have divided government and they narrowly get the Senate, then frankly, I think he's going to be a much less successful president. I know that's sort of contrary to conventional wisdom, but that's just how I feel. Pretty interesting. Let me know what you think of Paul Ryan's comments in the comment section below. You'll also find a link to all of his comments in the description section below. Now, let's take a look at something very interesting happening in the state of Minnesota. Now, on your screen, you'll see a tweet from Christiane Cordero, who's a reporter for WCCO CBS Minnesota. She reported on something very interesting that the Minnesota governor wants to do. Christiane reported that Governor Tim Walz from Minnesota wants to waive state and local regulatory fees. He wants to extend an eviction moratorium for businesses. He wants a one-time $500 emergency payment to families, and he wants to extend unemployment benefits for 13 weeks. And he wants to do this because he's not getting the aid that he needs from federal government. So he wants to try and institute this at the state level. And in a follow-up tweet, Christiane also pointed out that there's some overlap between what the Minnesota governor wants to do with proposals from House Republicans. Now, Republicans also want to expand beer, wine, liquor, and reopen gyms. In other words, the Republicans want the economy to reopen as quickly as possible. And the governor today, that is the governor of Minnesota, pushed bipartisanship by saying every option should be on the table. Kind of what we've been hearing from the Problem Solvers Caucus. That is what the governor of Minnesota is essentially implying. Now, just like the Problem Solvers Caucus, I have to tell you, I like what Tim Walz is suggesting. You see, in our system of government, there are these politicians that we don't like. I know that there are certain politicians that get a lot of vitriol, a lot of hatred from our community. But then there are politicians that seem to make sense with what they're saying. I like what I hear from the Problem Solvers Caucus. I actually like what I hear from Senator Rob Portman, the guy who originally proposed the back to work bonus. And I have to tell you, I personally like what Tim Walz is saying. You can be the judge for yourself. On your screen, you'll see a tweet from Tim Walz where he says small businesses are making immense sacrifices. Our team, along with the Minnesota House of Representatives, has been working round the clock to put together an economic relief package. We still need the federal government to act, but this is a strong start. Now let's take a look at the article that was mentioned in the tweet. This article is in the Star Tribune, and the headline of the article reads, Governor Tim Walz lawmakers aim for pandemic relief for businesses. The special legislative session hinges on whether Walz and other Republican lawmakers can agree on an approach. So they are working on something to try and provide more economic relief, and hopefully relief not just to residents in Minnesota but to businesses across the country. I'll let you know if this initiative essentially gathers momentum and whether it goes anywhere, but I think the efforts from the Minnesota Governor Tim Walz are definitely worth mentioning, which is why I highlighted them in this video. And here's another tweet on your screen also from the Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. He said, our small businesses are carrying a huge weight to keep our entire system safe. They shouldn't bear that cost alone. Today we announced a COVID-19 economic relief package to help them stay afloat, support our workers, and make sure our families can put food on the table. Remember, at this point in time, we have different Republicans, different Democrats making proposals in the House. And then what happens is all of these proposals have to win enough support in the House and the Senate. That's our system of government. Then signed by the president, and that's when it becomes law. Speaking of Tim Walz, on one final note, he did release an ad. This was prior to the election on the 28th of October. In fact, you see this tweet on your screen from Governor Tim Walz, and he says, I asked some friends to help me explain why election day might be a little different this year. The four of us don't agree on everything, but we do agree on this. The 2020 election is too important to sit out. And I thought this was a beautiful ad. And again, I like what Tim Walz is doing, so I wanted to play this ad and I wanted to show it to my viewers and subscribers as well. In the spirit of bipartisanship and in the spirit of cooperation, let's take a look at this ad.
Minnesotans.
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 We've all had the privilege of serving as governor of this great state.
While we may not agree on every issue,
We all agree that this election is the most important election of our lifetime.
Minnesotans are proud to have the highest voter turnout in the nation.
And we expect this year to be no different.
so make your voice heard and vote.
Vote.
Go vote.
Our state is proud to have one of the safest and most secure election systems in the whole country.
You can have faith that your vote will be counted.
With so many of us voting by mail, it may take a little longer to verify a winner.
And that's okay. It's by design.
A delay just means our system is working and that we're counting every single ballot.
There may not be a clear winner on election night.
But no matter who wins, let's demonstrate the civility and decency that Minnesotans are known for.
There is so much more that unites us rather than divides us.
Let's show the country there's a better way.
That's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know about your thoughts as far as Joe Biden's national security team is concerned. Let me know about what you thought about Paul Ryan's comments, which are rather interesting. Not only, him asking the president to accept the results of the election, but also his comments that if the Republicans win both Georgia Senate runoff races, it'll actually be better for Joe Biden because Joe Biden will not be under pressure from, one part of his party. Pretty interesting comments, pretty interesting perspective. I have to be honest, I never thought of it that way. But now I'm starting to look at that and go, Paul Ryan may have a point there. And also let me know what you think of Governor Tim Walz's initiatives in the state of Minnesota for the broader national discourse. Thank you so much for watching. Please click like, please subscribe, and please enable notifications if you learn something from our reporting. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I appreciate you watching. If you learned something from this video, please consider clicking the like button. Please gently ignite that subscribe button, and please enable notifications. That would mean a great deal to me. That tells YouTube that you found this content helpful. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. Get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000, that's 70000. You'll get added to SMS alerts list moving forward. Now, if you want, you can also get added to our email list. Simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. Once you get on our email list, you'll get important breaking news and important alerts about matters that are important to the country, to the economy, and to your money. Now, you can also follow us on Instagram. My Instagram handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. And then you'll get exclusive content specifically for our Instagram followers. You can also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. That's ignition_time. You'll get breaking news and alerts from us on Twitter. So make sure you follow us on Twitter. Now, sometimes YouTube does not always send out notifications on time. So all you have to do is simply bookmark youtube.com/ignition time. That's youtube.com/ignition time. And then you'll be able to visit the homepage of our channel and check out our videos at any point in time that you want. You're not dependent on the YouTube notifications. Again, if you learned something new from this video, please consider sharing this video with friends and family. You'll find the links to all of our resources in the description section below. So make sure to check out our description section. Please comment below and engage with our community. We have a vibrant, we have a bipartisan, we have an intelligent community, and you'll probably make a lot of friends in our community. So make sure you comment below and engage with our community. Finally, if you learned something new from this video, please consider clicking the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications so you get instant updates from our videos going forward. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.